Welcome back. I am just Shawnee, and today we're going to be watching TikTok scary stories. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, commenting, subscribing, and liking. Just keep it up. It really helps the channel. Now we're just going to go in. We're just going to go in.
So I don't know how crazy or unbelievable my story is, but it really happened. So I'm just going to tell it. Back in 2004, I was stationed in Ramadi, Iraq with the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marine Regiment, which was an artillery unit based out of Camp Pendleton, California. During our time there, we served as convoy security from Ramadi all the way to Baghdad for various convoys. That was our mission while we were out there. The base we were sent to was called Junction City. This was an Army, Marine, Navy compound that was across the river from the city of Ramadi. And the base we're on was a prior Iraqi police compound that we had taken over. So it was a pretty big base, several miles around the outside, high razor wire fences, outpost, artillery to respond to incoming fire, things like that. But several thousand troops stationed there. And so this was, again, 2004. And if you remember 2004, the Iraq War was very hostile. It was a very big year for combat. April of that year, there was a big battle in the city of Ramadi. And then in December of that year, Operation Phantom Fury is when we took the city of Fallujah itself. And that was during the time period I was there in Iraq. So just to give some background of when I was there. So to get to my story, back then when you wanted to call home, and I don't know what the protocols are now or how things go now, but when you wanted to call home, you had to go to a phone center. These were typically rooms that had about 20 phones in them that people would sign their name and wait in line. Typically, each phone call was allowed 15 minutes. So when someone came out, they'd call the next name on the list and they'd say, hey, so-and-so, you're up. And you'd go in there and you'd punch in a calling card number that you had prepaid minutes, and then you'd call home. And you'd have 15 minutes to call as many people as you could or just stay on the phone calling home, right? So I had made a routine that at 2 a.m. I would go and make my phone calls, because 2 a.m. Iraq time was like 5 p.m. back home, something like that, but nighttime there was daytime here, type of thing. So I wasn't waking anybody up. And also the base, everyone was sleeping at night. So those phone centers were much less busy because nobody was trying to wake up at 2 a.m. to call home more often than not. So I had a 1-year-old son at the time, and I just wanted him to hear my voice. You just never knew when your last day could be out there. So I wanted to call as often as I could, just to give peace of mind to my family that everything was okay, even if it was for a 1-minute phone call. And so I'd have my alarm set for 2 a.m. every day. And at 2 a.m. I'd wake up, I'd grab my rifle, sling it over my shoulder, and begin my walk a couple hundred yards to this Army phone center to call home. And so to make this walk, you'd have to walk across this open field. There was some grass, but there was no obstructions in this field. It was an open field, desert type of environment. But other than that, there was nothing across these fields, just a worn out path from hundreds of Marines and soldiers, walking back and forth between the barracks and the phone centers. And obviously, you're in a time of war. You're not walking with flashlights or things like that. And the only light there was the moonlight, which in the desert was more than enough. It's plenty bright. It always seemed like it was a full moon, never a cloud in the sky. So I'm making my walk. I'm making my walk across this couple 100-yard journey from my barracks to the phone center. And I'm looking at the ground. I'm looking at the ground, not paying attention, just kind of looking at my next step, looking at my feet, staring at the ground, just thinking about who I'm going to call or, things like that. Well, about halfway there, I run into somebody, like physically shoulder to shoulder, and I get knocked back. I get hit shoulder to shoulder, and I say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm immediately feeling like, oh my God, who did I just run into? Who did I'm an idiot. I'm staring at the ground. And I reach for this person's uniform to grab something to keep them from falling. but there's nobody there. And I'm looking and there's just no one there. And so I freeze with my arms up, like grabbing, and I'm listening for like somebody rolling in the grass or somebody stumbling, but there's nobody there. And I sit there for another 10, 15 seconds. I even say hello, and there's no one there. And so I don't spend a whole lot of time because now I'm kind of like embarrassed. I'm like, I wonder if somebody is watching me like talk to myself in this open field. So I just continue walking. So I walk another 100 yards or so, and I get to the phone center. And when I get there, the door is padlocked, and there's a sign on the door that says, this phone center is out of service until further notice. So for those who were out there, who were deployed, or for those who don't know, when that happened, it was typically because there were casualties on the base that particular day or the day prior or recently. And they shut the phone centers down as a way to make sure the news of the fallen soldiers or the Marines doesn't get back to the next of kin before they could do it properly. And so it was a common thing in 2004. It seemed like every other week the phones were down 3, 4, 5 days at a time, which, you know, isn't a big deal if you're considering the alternative to being one of those casualties. And you completely respected those families and your phone call, minor inconvenience, but you would always, your heart would always be with those families who were getting that news about their loved ones. So the phone center was closed, which it often was. And so I'm walking back, mild inconvenience that I wasn't able to make my phone call, but I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what if the person I ran into, the spirit that I ran into, was a soldier, Marine, sailor who was going through their routine still of calling home, and they didn't realize that they had passed. And that's who I bumped into that day or that night on my way to make my phone call. And I've never forgotten that. And sometimes it gives me chills thinking about. I never pinpointed the day. I never pinpointed who the casualty might have been. But yeah, that's what happened to me. And it was very real. And it happened. So there's my story.
Yo, he had me. I was invested. I was just like, man, that could have really been the case. He could have ran into one of the fellow soldiers that just went on to glory. You know what I'm saying? I feel elderly every time I say that, but I don't want to be demonetized. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's wow. The fact that you was just looking at, well, I can't really say much because you are in the desert and it could be, critters at your feet and you don't want to step on nothing. I get that, but I don't know. I think I would look up a few times, but the fact that you hit that person so hard in the shoulder, it was almost like it was supposed to be, or like you said, they were just doing their routine and they didn't see you because you're not usually on their routine. They were just following their routine. So when you hit each other hard, like you felt that it was somebody there for you. So the fact that they weren't there anymore, it's like, and I've been in that situation where it's just like, is somebody looking at me? Well, they are. Oh, well. Because I just talk to myself all the time. But man, the fact that you felt that and didn't see nobody. Honey, that is, wow, surreal. Like, what? I would have been like out of it. Like in that moment, I would have been like, man, what? It would have threw me off. I would have been no good the whole entire day. I would have been thinking about that the whole entire day, especially after reading the sign. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't back then, but now it'd be like, no, I would have been definitely thinking about, okay, that happened, I think, but relating to like, oh, this person, like the center is closed down because the casualties, like connecting those two, I probably wouldn't have did that, but I would have been thinking, am I going crazy? Like what? Like that would be my thought process.
So this actually happened to me and my mom. So she's my witness. And I know people think when I tell the story, it's like this girl is chasing, she reaching. Not. Okay. So we had a pastoral banquet, our pastoral anniversary banquet. And so it was on a Sunday, last day of the banquet. And we got the chairs from no other place than a funeral home. So we returned the chairs, of course, back to the funeral home. But my mom called the lady like, hey, we're getting ready to bring the chairs. And so the lady was like, just take the chairs, drive around to the back and put them on the by the door on the back because no one is there because we're at a funeral. Remember that part, okay? Cool. So when me and my mom go drop the chairs off, we just unloading the chairs because we're not knocking on the door or nothing because she said there's nobody there. Okay, great. We unloading the chairs and everything. And then I said, Ma, I think I seen that curtain move like that. I guess she didn't hear me because she kept unloading everything and, was just going on. And then after that, somebody opened the door. This big brown-skinned, bald-head guy opened the door, heavy set. And my mom was like, oh, you scared me. That man said, oh, I was just sleeping. And then he goes to say, it's not the dead you should be afraid of. It's the ones that are alive that will kill you. Anyways, so we continue on, my mama should go ahead, boom, unload the chairs, whatever. And the man proceeds to get the chairs from us and take them inside. But here's the thing. Whole time the man was unloading the chairs, he never got the chairs off the truck. He only put the chairs inside of the funeral home. So he never stepped out of the funeral home itself. But we panicked, no mind, whatever. So we get all the chairs unloaded. That man told us, now y'all have a blessed day now. We get in the car, Mom probably got 30 seconds down the road and had to pull over at a gas station because she literally was scared shitless. Literally had to go take a shit because she was scared shitless. So after that, we tell our encounterment to a family member, and my aunt, she's very nosy, very nosy. So she not called up to the place. She goes up to the place and was like, oh, I just came to let you know that my sister dropped the chairs out. And the lady said, yeah, we got her from off the back porch. No, the man helped her put him on the inside. The lady said, what man? She the man that was here with the suit on. This man had on a suit and his tie was untied. He on a suit. Then my aunt looked over to a picture and it was the man on the picture. The dead man helped us put the chairs inside the funeral home. So we thought. We don't even know who this man is. And see, we've used this funeral home before because it's like a community funeral home or whatever. I've never seen that man ever before until that day. And obviously, I've never seen him afterwards for obvious reasons. But yeah, that's what happened.
That's what happened. That's what happened. There it is. Cause that ghost was being a ghostly helper right there. Cause what? You're telling me that y'all imagined that y'all put those chairs and he transferred the chairs from the porch into the funeral home? Y'all imagine that? Because they was back on the porch, honey. They found them. The people who are alive found them inside the funeral home. This man comes out and was like, I was sleeping. I'll be like, Mom, let's go. Let's go, Mom. Let's go. We'll come back. We'll come back. Because what are we doing, honey? The thing he said right there was, you ain't got to be scared of me. I'm unalive. So yeah. Friend, wow. That you don't even know what to say about that, because it's like, well, what he must have just passed away and was trying to get. It's so much to unpack with that one. Y'all comment below what y'all think about that one, because it's just so much to unpack. Like, he had recently just passed away. What made him be like, I guess he was looking for the other side. Maybe he had a tux on, the tie wasn't tied up. Like, If that was me, I would drop on the live right there. I do not like the funeral home nowadays. Like, so you're telling me that I was doing a good service? I was returning what I bought, and this happened to me? I'll never go back. Never go back. Bet nobody die. Bet nobody unalive. Bet nobody, because I ain't going. I'm not going. No.
My ex's family lived in one of the oldest and most haunted houses in all of Brisbane. They even have a Wikipedia page dedicated to it. A lot of local newspapers have done roundups of this house being one of the most haunted ones in Brisbane. And we used to stay there quite a bit, but we had a prolonged stay when we moved from Melbourne to Queensland, and we stayed there for about 2 or 3 months. Even before I found out that the house was supposedly haunted, it just gave me the heebie-jeebies in certain rooms. The urban legend has it that it was a sugarcane farmer who owned that house who ended up unaliving himself due to some misfortune, either in the attic of the house or on the tree outside of the house. I don't really remember which. But anyway, the room where I was usually staying at the house was in the attic area. So there was that room, there was another room adjacent to it, and then there was a bathroom. So this whole floor had been remodeled from one big room into all of these separate rooms. The room I usually stayed in was generally pretty fine. It didn't really feel spooky a lot of the time, but the room adjacent to it and the bathroom, those two rooms were super creepy. I had trouble going to the bathroom at night because it freaked me out so badly just to be in the bathroom. I never looked in the mirror because there were so many times where like the toilet was facing this giant wall-long mirror. But I always avoided looking in that mirror because a few times while I was in that bathroom, I could see like shadows moving around the mirror. The other room I stayed in once, the adjacent room, and I remember I was sleeping on the bed and my ex had gotten up and gone downstairs, so he wasn't in the room at the time. But I felt like a weight shift on the bed, and I thought he was like pulling the covers, and then when I turned around, it turned out that there was literally no one in the room. So that was the last time I stayed in that room. There were many times where I was in the basement letting the dogs out or looking for something in the garage. Every time I went down there, I heard footsteps, rustling, and there was no one there downstairs with me. I did not like being in the basement. But I think the worst part of that house was it was really inconsistent. The vibes were really inconsistent. You would be downstairs in the kitchen or something, and you'd be fine. Then you would move to a different room, and the vibe would like shift instantly, like something had arrived in the room. I'm getting shivers just talking about it. I stayed there one last time after my ex and I broke up, and I was staying in one of the rooms upstairs alone, and without fail every night I was too terrified to open my eyes. I would just kind of lie in the bed with my eyes closed, and inevitably there'd be like soft footsteps, the louvers would rattle. To be fair, it was a really old house, and you have like the creaks and all of the kind of noises that come with an old house, but some of these were very specific, and especially the heavy vibe shift, like I can't really describe it. It was very pointed in specific rooms. It was a nice house, but I was scared to stay there at night.
Did you and your ex break up because of the house? Like, he didn't move y'all into a haunted house? Because that's a reason. That's grounds for a breakup. You didn't move me into a haunted house, honey. We're done. We're done. Don't even talk to me. I'm out of here. Because you like, oh, after we broke up, I stayed in the house again. The D wasn't that good, boo. It was not that good. I can tell you what. I've met some P that was that good. I've met some P. I had to walk away. See, y'all, I'm still thinking about my ex situation. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, girl, I might have to call her up. I'm trying to do better. You guys, try to do better. But honey, it is not worth it to get got. Like, you feeling stuff, things pulling on the covers with you, because we'll fight with some cover. Actually, no, we won't. Just take the cover. Just take the cover, honey, because I don't want it. You got it. You can have it. Yeah, no, friend. No, would not have, because you're already feeling the vibe and you ain't even moved in. No, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't stay. You could feel the difference in the vibes. No, it was heavy there in certain places, and that lets you know, like, maybe he was there, his spirit was there, still heavy there. So no, friend. You tried it. I'm glad you moved on to bigger and better things, boo, honey. Ain't no house or D worth it, honey. Ain't